I'm going to the beach. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I figure I'll put my little hula, kind of like, Hawaiian type shirt on. Try to be cool. Anyways, man, so I do have round 5 of the Superbet Romania between Wesley and Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa. So, of course, all my people coming from the Philippines, I will say Meron means salamat. Anybody who is coming from Tamil Nadu, I will say Nanri. But I appreciate you guys very much. Let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. Let me get my volume up. Oh, it's already up. We got D4. Knight comes to F6. We got C4, and then we do have G6. The hardest defense in all of chess. Nah, I'm playing. It ain't the hardest defense. It is the King's Indian defense. They also have a King's Indian attack from the white side. And I actually love seeing this from the white side. It is very, very strong for white. But you never know. We do see the move G3. I don't play it this way, but this is what we see in the game. We got G3, Bishop G7, Bishop to G2. Now, basically, white and black are both trying to make their bishops monsters. This one is just a little bit better than black's because they're kind of biting a little bit of on a little bit of white structure, but the structure can always change. We do see castles by black. We got knight going to C3. We see the move D6. If white ever does get the move E4 in, D6 is very useful just to kind of slow down the E5 advance. You definitely don't want your knight just getting kicked anywhere, even though actually in a King's Indian defense, it can actually be useful because you usually want to move that knight out of the way anyway. We do see the move knight to F3, and we do see the move A5. Now, this is a very thematic move in the King's Indian type of defense or even in the attack. But the only thing about it is what A5 mostly is doing in these positions is preventing a B4. A knight really isn't generally going to get on this square with this type of a situation without E4 played. And so you're not really attacking white's center like that. So it is a little slight bit misplaced, but it's definitely not a bad move. We do see castles by white. We got bishop to F5. And then what do we see from white? Wow! Yes, let's hit that bishop, bro, because that is just too nicely placed of a bishop, and we are threatening to damage your structure just a little bit. So we do see bishop going back to C8. Now, I know what you guys are wondering. Have we gotten to a novelty yet? We have not. We are not in novel territory as of yet, but we are getting very close because a lot of these moves have been somewhat random to this point. We do see B3. We got knight B to D7, and then we have, bam, bishop to A3. I know what you're asking. What in the world is bishop to A3 doing? Exactly. It's kind of biting on this structure right here. It's not really hitting this rook. It's a very interesting developing move. The knight is actually somewhat hanging, and black is going to try to take advantage of that a little bit, but we are covered. But this bishop to A3 is the novelty of the game. Generally, when you go this move right here, you're trying to attack a rook, or you're trying to attack a weak point, which sometimes can be E7, which is like E2 in this position, but we don't see any of that. We got the move E5. We see pawn takes E5, knight takes E5, and then we do see queen to C2. And like I said, we are, trying to make sure that this knight does not hang because this bishop is actually very open on this diagonal. Now, queen to C2, we got knight back to C6. We see rook A to D1. Even though we do have a pawn in the way, it is very useful to put this rook opposite the queen, as you guys hear me always say. Just trying to, maybe pin a piece down. And maybe get an attack on this white-black queen. We do see bishop to D7. We got the move H3. We see a rook to E8. We got king up to H2. We see knight down to B4. Inconveniencing the queen just a little bit, but we're good. We just go queen to D2. We got bishop to C6. We got bishop down to B2. Just making sure that we don't have any funny business with this knight. This knight for black can actually kind of move somewhere and open up this bishop on this knight. So you do have to be kind of careful. We do see knight going back to A6. We got knight up to D5. We got knight to C5. Queen slides over to C2. Knight to E4 was possibly incoming. We got knight taking D5, pawn taking D5, and then bishop going to B5. And this is actually a really nice situation for black. You definitely do have a little bit better for white, but, one of the things I always tell you guys in these types of positions, King's Indian with the fianchetto, maybe like a Catalan type situation, Queen's Gambit decline. We do have a slight weakness on E2 that we generally have to be looking out for. So you see that black is definitely trying to take advantage of that right here. But they're not successful at the moment. We do see rook f to e1. We do want to move e3 probably at some point, and it's much better to do that when the rook is not on f1, of course. We do see bishop taking b2, queen taking b2. We got the move a4. Knight goes down to f3. We got pawn taking, and then we do see knight to e4. And this is actually a very sneaky move. You know, we are definitely focusing on e2, but since the king has shifted up to this h2 square, we do have a possible hit on this f2 square. So we do see the move e3, and now the queen is laterally defending, so we are all good to go. We got bishop going back to d7, trying to add a little bit of pressure onto this point right here. Queen slides over to c2. We do see c5. Pawn takes c6 en passant. For any of you guys that are not familiar with en passant, I will put a card up here. I have covered en passant. I'm pretty sure. I have to double check. But I think I have covered that. We got pawn taking c6, knight going to d4. We got queen to e7. And then we do have the move f3. Now, some of you guys might be wondering in this position, can I just, like, because I'm double attacking this queen, this pawn right here, right? Like, can't I just take it? It is actually a move, but it is only a move because knight taking on c6 would be immediately hitting the queen on e7 with check. If not for that, then you actually are going to be getting pinned down right here. And so it is a little bit of a dangerous position for you to be in. So be very careful when you're just grabbing pawns, and rooks can slide behind your piece that you take with. But that is actually a move in this position, but we don't see that. We do see the move f3 in the game. We got knight going back to c5, perfect spot. It does cover that pawn. We got the move e4. We got the rook e to b8, trying to, you know, put a little bit of pressure on this weakened pawn over here. We see the move f4. We got rook to b4. We got rook up to e3. We got rook a to b8. We got the move e5, d5, and then we do have a little bit of under protection on this knight, so we swing the rook over to c3. So everything's pretty much held down right now. This pawn is protected. You know, we are hitting this knight twice. You really don't have any good way to defend it. You know, we can't put a rook right here because this knight is taking care of that. So, you know, we do have to be kind of careful. So we do see knight going to e6. Knight taking, bishop taking, a rook taking, and then now the rook takes. So everything is still, you know, pretty even. You do kind of have to be a little careful because if this pawn ever does start to kind of get rolling, you put a rook behind it, you can kind of have a nice day. We do see rook to c8, we check, rook takes c8, queen takes c8, we got king to g7, and then we see rook taking d5, and we have actually reached a position. This is not really a blunder, but it is a very bad move in this position, and it gives black like almost a winning move that they can play. It was not found in the game, so if you want to pause the video and try to see if you can find that move, go ahead and do so. All right, so what we actually saw in the game was queen to b4, and it has some of the right ideas in it, but it doesn't quite have the oomph that the move that I'm looking for has in it. Now, what you guys should probably be noticing if you are looking from the black side is that this g3 pawn is really the only pawn that's protecting the king, and then the king is the only thing that's protecting that pawn. And there should be a way for you to maneuver your queen to take advantage of that. White's pieces are just a little bit off sides here. So if you found the move queen to a7, you would be absolutely correct. You are wanting to redirect over here to either e3 or f2 and put pressure on this pawn. And there is no way for you to defend this position if you are on the white side. You probably see maybe queen to c2, either queen to c2 or rook to d1. They pretty much both have to come, but there's no way to protect g3. You do see queen going over to e3 like I was saying. The rook comes down to e1, and there is no defense on queen takes g3. So you do get a lot of pressure, and you are attacking this pawn right here. So you have all three of these pieces from the black side just kind of coming in on what white has going on, and you are going to be dropping some material, and it's just not a very good position for you to be in if you are the white side, especially against somebody like Praggnanandhaa. But we, like I said, did not see that in the game. We saw rook takes d5, and then we did see queen to b4. But like I said, this doesn't have quite the same oomph to it because you can't access these squares immediately. It'll take you an extra move, and it gives just enough time for Wesley So to recover And if you give Wesley So a chance, he is going to find a defense, and he does. He goes queen to c1, and this does basically protect all of the penetration that black would be trying to do. Sorry, I skipped ahead. We see rook to b2, and then rook goes down to d3. And you see that white has had enough time now to regroup itself and make sure that they are defending their position. Because like I said, this was definitely the piece that you have to be protecting if you're from the white side. The rook does go to e2. We see rook to e3. Knight takes f4, and you do kind of have to be a little careful here. You do not want to accept this gambit because this would be completely no. Yes. This is really, really horrible. You are attacking this king. You are pinning this rook down to this queen. You are going to be taking, and I mean, you're just going to be winning way too much material if you are on the black side. So we did not see that. After knight took, we did see rook takes e2, and then knight takes e2. We got queen over to f1. So like I said, you can see that white is still kind of gathering themselves, and they're making sure that they're not really dropping anything. And then we do see knight to d4, and we have a very interesting position that comes up on the board. We see queen to f6 with check. We got king back to g8, queen to d8 with check, and then we see a repetition of checks and moving back. We get to this position, and it is drawn by threefold repetition. Now, you might be wondering, like, can I just block with the queen? Well, you absolutely cannot, because if you go like this with the queen just to block so that you're not getting into a repetition, you just immediately drop your knight, and now you're down an entire piece. So that was the only alternative. So Wesley So was able to get him into a threefold repetition, and the game ended in a draw. So that was an interesting game. I think queen a7. You would kind of think that Pragg would find something like that. You know, when he's back in this position here and he moves the queen down. I mean, you have to know that he's really thinking of the pressure that he has here. And he does want to kind of infiltrate. But I guess he didn't quite think that maybe black had a white had a defense. And you really have to go queen to c1 in this position. Like, that's the only move really you have to find. Because everything else basically just allows you to kind of get into this position a little bit too good. So that was that game. So I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from Tagalog, I will say Vana come to you. All of my people in the Philippines, I will say Magandang Umaga, Magandang Hapon, Magandang Gabi, Magandang Araw. Whatever time it is for you where you're at. Hello Ulit. And I'm going to see you guys next time.